Today's lesson is going to be on proteins, also known as polypeptides. It's the third organic compound that we're talking about in biology class. Proteins components or elements are hydrogen, carbon, oxygen, and nitrogen. So if you compare this to lipids and carbohydrates, we're now adding a different element of nitrogen. And the monomer of proteins, so the building block, is called the amino acid. And right here is a picture of a structure of amino acid. And I want to point out there's an amino group, and that's where you find the nitrogen. A carboxyl group, which is over here. And these are the two functional groups that we talked about the other day where the amino acids are going to join together. And then you have what's called the R group. And the word variant is used here is because the R group is what changes. Depending upon what's in this location, those different combinations would create 22 different amino acid possibilities. I like to compare this to like the letters of the alphabet. There's 26 letters in the alphabet. There's 22 different R groups that could go here, which would create 22 different amino acids. Now, you'll notice down here, beside their name, they're usually given like a 3-letter abbreviation. When we get to unit 5 and we're talking about how proteins are actually made at the ribosome, these amino acids will come back into play and you'll figure out how there's a connection between DNA and protein. You'll notice glycine, alanine, proline, they all have this INE ending, but not all of them. There is one called tryptophan. Maybe you've heard of tryptophan before in turkey. What they say makes you sleepy. But those are all different amino acids that would join together to form a protein. So proteins have a variety of functions. And in class, I passed out a handout. And here's just some examples of proteins. Proteins can have different functions. They could be enzymes. There could be storage proteins, defensive proteins, transport proteins, hormonal proteins, receptor proteins, contractile or motor proteins, and then structural proteins. Now, some of these examples, if you look here, you see hemoglobin. Its job is to carry oxygen. That's going to be a transport protein. It's transporting oxygen. Antibodies, they're defensive proteins that actually attack invaders like viruses and bacteria. Hormones like insulin. All enzymes are proteins, and the egg white. So the albumin in an egg white is actually also protein. So it's going to actually provide some nourishment for what would be the growing egg. Proteins are folded. So just if we talk about their structure, and this will help you understand enzymes a little bit better. If you talk about their structure, they need to be folded to do work. If they unfold, it's called denaturing. So there's actually 4 different steps in the protein folding process, and you do not need to know the detail for this biology course. What you do need to be familiar with is you should recognize the structure of an amino acid, including the R group, the carboxyl group, and the amino group, and understand the R group is what makes the 22 to 20 different amino acids. And then also, proteins are sometimes called polypeptides because we don't want to forget this bond that connects the amino acids together. They're called a peptide bond. So you have a bunch of amino acids put together. They join, and that junction is called a peptide bond. So be able to label this picture as well, or draw this picture.